I dropped out of high school. I never graduated. I had to work. I had to do something. And I always knew like there was a way to make money without like following the rules, let's say.
You just got awarded the Level Up Award at Legacy Powers, the individual that has grown the most year over year. But give us a background of what got you into sales.
I was doing car sales when I was like 17, buying cars from the auction, just flipping them. And then we had our daughter, so I had to. It was like, okay, like if I don't have anything to sell, I'll be looking for stuff to sell or like to buy and resell.
So simple, but so powerful. There was no plan B. You are a great example of what it means to go after a niche. Your target audience is the Spanish community. What's it been like for you to really have a lot of influence in a Spanish community?
I talked to them like the way I wanted someone to talk to my family a lot, my parents or my uncles. You gotta connect with them first. I count a lot of stories. And then from there, if you open more, they'll start asking more questions too. And they know like you care about them. That connection is different than what other people do.
There's a saying that goes, facts tell, but stories sell. What are some stories that when you maybe tell this story, you've seen has a lot of results and getting the sale, getting them to trust you?
Like the best one is,
welcome to the VIP, the Valor Impact Podcast. My name is Jon Soriano. We believe that you can have it all, that you can be successful in all areas of your life, your faith, your family, your fitness, your finance, that you do not have to choose between one or the other. And as you listen in, take notes, take it all in, ask yourself, how can I apply this today? How can I go out there and execute today? Because we're going to teach you a wide range of things from sales, from leadership, to finances, to mindset, to even how to have success in sales and in your marriage. And my only ask is that you like this video, you subscribe to it, you share it with somebody in the sales industry, and that you also ultimately go out there and execute on everything that you want.
Welcome to the Valor Impact Podcast, the VIP, where we believe that your best self is found on the other side of doing hard things. And we like to interview high-level individuals that are doing remarkable things in the sales space to extract the gold out of them to help you further your career in sales. So today we have someone that I've gotten to know really well over the last 2 or so years, Rene Armendariz. He is a phenomenal closer. Right now we're in the series of The Art of the Close. And so where we really sit down with individuals that are phenomenal at closing. They're closing at a high rate. And Rene is an individual that does that. And what I love about his story, though, is that, he's absolutely dominating the Spanish market. And so actually on this podcast, we were talking before we started on doing it, maybe a little bit of English and Spanish. So I don't know what's in store for this podcast, Rene.
Yeah.
But if Rene just says some things in Spanish, we're going to try to follow along. My Spanish is, I can understand it better than I can speak it. But anyways, Rene, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being on.
thank you, John. It's an honor. It's an honor for me to be here. Yeah, if I say something Spanish, maybe you guys can put some subtitles on it.
Yeah.
So someone can understand
subtitles. I love it. Yes. And, let me edify you a little bit more, Rene. You're an individual. You just got awarded the Level Up Award at Legacy Powers annual award ceremony. And the Level Up Award is the individual that has grown the most year over year. And you had a great 2023, right? Mm-hmm. And then an even greater 2024. You've won several awards. You're one of our top guys in our leadership development program. You have a couple hundred installs already in solar. You've been in solar, less than 2 years?
It's been about 2 years.
2 years, yeah. Right? And you already have, a couple hundred installs already as is. What's even cool though, is you're great at developing people as well. You've developed some phenomenal setters, some phenomenal closers as well. So you are someone that, really understands sales. Give us a little bit background of your story. I know you were doing sales before solar, but give us a background of just kind of, your story, your upbringings, and ultimately what got you into sales.
Yeah. So I have always I was doing sales already, in the past. I was doing car sales when I was 17, buying cars from the auction, fixing them up, just flipping them. And then from there I went to business to business. I was selling to markets, liquor stores. It was mostly wholesale, but it wasn't door knocking, but it was business to business, kind of the same.
Same principle.
Yeah, same principle. And then from there I went into plumbing, and plumbing sales. And then from there, I just wanted to do something better or something where I can grow, you know? So I applied to many to many jobs, right? So they call me to do alcohol, like tequila sales. They called me, I couldn't make it, and then I just left it there, and then they called me from a solar company. It was actually another solar company, and I went there and I tried it. I actually got there because they wanted to do they were offering like sign-on bonus. So in my head I was like, oh, like maybe it doesn't even real that I can make like this much money, you know? So I'm just gonna get the bonus and then I'm just gonna quit. That's it. That was my plan. so we went there and then I was there already, so I was like, well, maybe it's true. Maybe I can make money. So let's just try it, right? Let's just give it all. So I started doing it and then it worked for me. And then the only thing is that in the other company, they wouldn't pay us like how we're supposed to, or how they told us they were going to pay us.
Sure.
So I started looking for something else. And then that's when we met Mike Brand. And then that's when we came into Legacy.
Yeah. Dude, so I want to, great story. And actually I want to go back to, you said at 17, you were doing cars, right? So it's kind of cool to see at a young age, you already had a drive towards entrepreneurship, right? And I think most people, at least the generation today, right, we're taught that the only path to success is go to school, get good grades, and then get a job, right? Like we're taught that. And hey, nothing against that, right? If that's the route you want to go, great. But for some people, there's actually another path. But it's cool seeing that at 17, you already possess this drive. You're like, I'm gonna go sell cars, and you were doing auctions. You say you were flipping them. I mean, dude, you don't see that often as a 17-year-old. Like, what drew you to do that? Like, how is it that at such a young age you already had this entrepreneurial ambition? Yeah.
So since I always say I got this from my mom. She's a natural like salesperson.
So shout out to Rene's mom.
Yeah, she has always been a salesperson. So she was doing, you know, like clothing sales, I want to say, like on the swap meet and stuff. So since I was a little kid, she used to tell us like, hey, like go talk to, like we were there, you know, at the swap meet, and then there were like customers, you know, like walking by. She's like, hey, like talk to them, like ask them what are they looking for, what do they need.
Wow.
And then from there, it's just like it just came natural. Like she has always been like selling stuff, and then from there, I feel I got it from her. From there. So at the age of like 16, 17, I saw my older brother and also my cousins, like they've been selling cars. So in my head, it's like, okay, so that's like, that works for them. Like that's the way to do it, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so I started, you know, like flipping cars, buying them, fixing them up, and then like, you know, like resell them. So 16, 18, 19, 20, I was selling like a lot of stuff. And then even like in Craigslist, you know, like an eBay, you know, like selling car parts, like a lot of things.
Was that when were you making six figures then at that?
No, I never, okay. No, like the most I made, like I never kept track because it was all cash. So I never, like, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
But the most I had done before Legacy, like the most per year, I think it was like 42K a year.
Okay.
That was the most.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is even though you weren't making life-changing money in sales, right? You kept going.
Yeah.
Right. And so what was it that kept you going long enough? Because now you're making 42K in a week sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You know, and for sure in a month, but sometimes in a week. And so, but what kept you in it as long from 17 to now? Like what was the thing that was like, I'm going to keep going until I figure this out?
I always believe like there was something else. Like, I'm not saying like school's bad or anything like that.
Sure.
It's just that, like I dropped out of high school. I never graduated. So that was one thing. So I had to, you know, I had to work. I had to do something. And I always knew like there was a way to make money without like following the rules, like say. So that's what I've been doing. Like it was not just me, it was also my brother. He actually works with us in Legacy. We've been selling a lot,
wow.
Like a lot. And then I don't know, like just because I had my daughter. We had our daughter, so I had to. I didn't have like a plan B. It was like, okay, like I need to find something, like I need to sell whatever it is. So I try never to waste like a lot of time. It's like if I don't have anything to sell, I'll be looking for stuff to sell or like to buy and resell, basically.
I love that, dude. I love that I had to.
Yeah.
So simple, but so powerful. You're like, No, I had to. Like there was no plan B. There was no plan C. It was like, I had to figure it out or I was going to be in the streets. And I love that because I saw an interview. I think it was 50 Cent. He said this. So these are his words, not mine. But in this interview, he was saying how depression is actually a first world luxury. And I was like, whoa. Like, I know some people got offended when he's like, oh, how dare you talk bad about my depression? But he expanded on it. He's like, yeah, he's like, depression is actually a first world luxury because he was like, where I'm from, or he was talking about the projects. He's like, we didn't have the ability to just be like, oh, my life is hard and like go to therapy for it. And listen, I'm not knocking therapy. I get it. I understand that people go through really hard things. But the point he was making was that he didn't have the ability to feel sorry for himself, to feel bad for himself, that this didn't work out, that this person died, that this deal fell through. He was essentially just saying like, hey, I did not have that luxury. Like, I had to figure it out. Like you said, you're like, I had to, right? So for you, I'm sure you haven't had time to mope and whine and say, oh, woe is me. And I think, and that's one thing in our generation that we see a lot of. We see a lot of victims. We see a lot of people that are like, oh, the world's against me. But when I hear your story, what I'm hearing is you're like, no, I had to attitude. And, that's why you've had success in sales. That's why you're doing what you're doing, because you're like, you wake up every day and you're like, I literally have to. There's no other choice.
Yeah, there's like, I don't have another choice. Like, I mean, maybe I do, but just in my mind, I don't see, or I don't, like, I have like non-negotiable, like in this is nothing like recently. I had this like for a long time. It's like when people ask me like, what, like you work a lot, like you put a lot of hours, like into working. And I'm not just talking about like the doors and stuff, but because since the beginning, like I always worked a lot of hours.
Yeah.
So now it's basically like you increase the value of the time, Like in the past, like it's like if you ask me like how many hours was I working on doing the business to business, it was maybe like 10 hours a day. And it's not as near as how much we can make here. So why am I gonna put less hours here if it's worth more?
Right.
So that's another thing that I always keep in mind. It's like you said earlier, like all sales are almost like the same, just your product changes.
Yeah.
And the value, and your skills, all that. So
yeah, that's great. So to kind of end on your beginning, kind of what I'm hearing is a big part of what has allowed you to get the results that you've had is you just had this I had to mentality.
Yeah.
Right. Your mom taught it at a very young age. You did it in car sales. You did it in business to business. And now you're doing it here in solar where you're like, hey, I have to. Right. And you wake up and you're like, no, I don't have the luxury of waiting. And now, of course, you're married, you have kids, right? And your family depends on you. Right. If you don't go out there and hunt, your family doesn't eat. Right.
Exactly.
So, one thing I like about you, Rene, is that you are a great example of what it means to go after a niche, right? I think oftentimes in sales, people take things very personal because they think that everyone should say yes to them, right? And you understand, you're like, no, I'm going to target one type of person, which I know your target audience is the Spanish community.
Yeah.
I believe 100% maybe, or 95% of your closes are Spanish.
Yeah.
Right. But you've mastered that, right? You're like, no, that's my niche. Can you go knock an area that is English speaking? Yes. But you're like, why would I when I have this skill set and I have this niche where you can show up as your authentic self? So talk us through that. Like, what's it been like for you to really have a lot of influence in a Spanish community?
Well, like not just like to target like Spanish speaking, is that like I can communicate more. I can deliver more, like to Spanish speaking families, because that's my, like my first language. So like talking to them, like another thing I always do is like I talk to them like the way I wanted someone to talk to my family, like my parents or my uncles, my aunts, all that. So I just have a regular conversation. It's not even like all that like technical, of course, there's important things that we need to explain, but like connecting to the homeowner is or even like to get the bill set up an appointment is just a conversation, but you got to connect with them first.
Yeah.
And that's one way I do it. Like I talk to them, like, hey, how are you? How's your day so far? Hey, like, I'm pretty sure you get knocked by a lot of homeowners. I mean, by a lot of like reps, right? Like a lot of reps, right? And they're like, yeah. So that's why I'm here, that connection is different than what other people do, or most salespersons
Yeah.
also.
What about when you're in the home? What are some things you do to connect with them? What are some things you do for them to trust you and for them to ultimately want to do business with you?
I count a lot of stories. You know, like a lot of stories. A lot. It's like, oh, you know what? Like, you remember my uncle or my aunt, but he's not lying to them. You know, because that's different.
Yeah.
Maybe I just know like a lot of things that happen to me that I have a lot of stories like to tell. You know, and also like I'm always looking for you know, like pictures, or if they have a dog, or if they have a certain car that I know something about it.
Yeah.
I'll just let them know that I'm aware. Oh, do you have that kind of car? Oh, that's nice. I used to have one, or my dad used to have one. And then from there, like if you open more, and you know, like they'll start asking more questions too.
Right.
And that's another way I connect with them. Or if they have like some plants, I like plants. They're like, oh, I like your I don't know, like your orange tree. Like that's, you know, like that's another way, because you're making more conversation, and they know like you care about them. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the topic of stories, you know, there's a saying that goes, facts tell, but stories sell.
Yeah.
And I think we as humans, the way our brain is wired, and there is science behind this, that we connect more to stories. And actually for thousands of years, that is how information was passed down. It wasn't through like a textbook, right? It was through stories, right?
Exactly.
A lot of wisdom and principles and knowledge was passed down through stories. What are some of your kind of favorite stories, or what are some stories that you've seen that when you maybe tell this story to prove whatever point you're trying to prove, you've seen has a lot of results and getting the sale, getting them to trust you? Like, share with us just, you know, some of those stories.
Of course, like maybe like one of them, or actually like the best one is like if they ask, like okay, one thing I do at the close is like I always tell them first before they tell it. You know, it's like I always say it first before they say it. It's like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm pretty sure you have like a lot of questions, right? Like, you're not the first one, so let me tell you first, like what's the most like the first concerns that homeowners have, and then from there, like then if you have more questions, you let me know. Once I do that, and then I tell them like all this, like, yeah, so actually, like I just spoke to another homeowner right now, and she asked me what happens like if I want to sell my home, and then if you tell them like how you explain it to her, like to the other homeowner, they were like, okay, so now it makes sense. So they're like they won't say it again. They won't ask you that because you already explained to them, you know?
Right.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
And then another one is like when they ask if they can cancel. It's like, okay, like of course you can, but I mean, if you feel like I'm not helping you, if this is not like good for you, it's not gonna benefit you, like why am I here, basically, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's another thing, and that leads to like less cancellations, I want to say.
So what I'm hearing is you beat them to the objections sometimes, right? Like there's some objections that sometimes they may come up, or they may be thinking it, but they don't say it, but they're important for you to address.
Yes.
That way, because if they think about, oh, well, what if I want to cancel? But if they think about that after you've left the home, they're more likely to cancel. But it sounds to me like you essentially, what's the word? I'm blanking here, but you essentially give them the objections, right?
Yes.
Instead of waiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I do, and then another thing, if I'm setting my own appointment and I get the bill, right, most likely they're gonna tell you there like one of like the main concerns. So when you go back, you already know like what you're gonna address, what you're gonna tell them first. So if that's the first thing you say, or like the first thing you address at the sit, like that's like there's no way they're gonna ask you again if you already, you know, like got it clear for them. So that's another thing I always do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're just your authentic self, you know?
Yeah.
I was saying this with Jack, but I mean, I feel like people are always looking for this like crazy formula.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, just be your authentic self, be cool, be funny, you know, share a joke here and there.
Exactly.
And be real, be honest, right? Tell them how it is, you know?
Yeah. Like always. It's like always, I get this question a lot. Like how do you do it? Like why? Like what are you doing that works a lot for you, or like works the most? I don't know. I feel like I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. Basically, that's it. Like I don't feel like I'm doing anything like that no one else can do. It's like I'm just doing what I have to do, and that's it.
Yeah, I want to ask you another question. I wasn't actually gonna ask you this, but just came on me. I want to shift gears a little bit. to speak to the people in sales that, want to have, big numbers like yourself, right? Like, you're doing minimum 10, 15 a month, like minimum, right? If not more. I know you're doing, I don't know, like at least 10-ish installs a month as well. So you're doing big numbers, but you're also married. You also have kids.
Yeah.
So talk to us through, how do you balance that? Like how are you balancing time on the doors, time in the close, time with post sale, right? Time with referrals, right? Answering the phone calls, the texts. You also lead a team. You also have a few people that you're leading as well. And on top of all that, like definitely when I see, like, I understand no one has a perfect marriage, but when I see you with your wife, right, you seem very into her. She's very into you. And like you guys like appear to be very much in love. And again, I understand no one's a perfect marriage, but obviously there's stuff you're doing there to make sure that you're still taking care of your family. So talk us through that.
Yeah. I mean, she's a huge part of that because like, obviously like I work a lot. I put a lot of time like on the job, of course, like on the doors, like on the phone, like back office and all that. I'm not that balanced. I'm guilty of that. I'm not that balanced, to be honest. And probably like most of my team knows. But of course, we have to find the time to, like spend with the family because that's important also. It's just that we're already used to like me working a lot. Like that's another thing because I used to do Uber also. I used to do Uber also maybe for like 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was actually doing when I first started Legacy actually, and on the other company, I was doing Uber like in the mornings. So I was already putting like a lot of time. So it's not, I mean, I'm not saying that it's okay to not be balanced, right? But it's something that I was already doing like since I was like 22.
Sure.
That's when I met her. So I was already putting a lot of time on the cars, on selling cars. So it's not anything strange. So I always try to make that, like if I'm with the family like a few hours, I always try to make it count.
Yeah.
It's hard because I get a lot of calls. I'm pretty sure like most of us get a lot of calls from, the installer, homeowners,
right,
financer, like everything, like our setters, the team. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
So I always try to make it count, like try to spend the most time with them if it's worth it.
There it is. I mean, there's the key right there is, you make whatever time you have count.
Yeah.
Because I think when it comes to family, it's not so much about the quantity. I'm sorry, the quantity. It's more about the quality.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure your wife would rather have 20 minutes where you are 100%. You have like your attention is 100% on her. It's not shared with anything. You're not on your phone. You're not checking your email. You're not checking Grid. Right? She would rather have that than 2 hours with you where you're like kind of on your phone. She can kind of tell you're physically there, but mentally you're thinking about work. You're mentally thinking about like, oh yeah, I got to go knock earlier today. Right? I'm sure your wife would rather have 20 minutes of your pure undivided. Same with your kids. And you said it right there. It's about whatever time I have. It may not be much, but I'm going to play full out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super important. She always tells me that, especially when I first started. And then when I first became like a mentor, like you have less time.
Sure.
Because you're busier. Now you get more appointments. Now you get to train people. Now we get to, like have people shadow us. So it's like, hey baby, you know what? Like I'm not going to have a lot of time because, like I have to train I got to train the team and then I have an install. I need to be there. And then, we need to go to relations. I mean, it's not easy.
Sure.
But she told me that since the beginning. It's like, okay, if you're going to be home, please like try not to be on your phone, try not to be working or like answering calls. I know it's important, but like try it at least, and that's another thing.
That right there will make you more money because, divorce is very costly and that definitely costs you more than money. But it's funny how the married man, they're thinking like, oh, this will make you the most money. No, listen, stay married.
Yeah.
That will make you more money. Stay married. Be happy. Take care of your spouse. That will make you more money than anything else. Anyways, to kind of get back into some of the practicals, talk us through some of your habits, right? I'm sure you have some habits that you do, some rituals that you do. Like, what's a normal day for Rene? Like, what does that look like for you? What are some habits you're doing to help you get the results you're getting?
Yeah. The most important one I want to say is, like I started working out, started going to the gym.
Come on, you're consistent on Valor Hard.
Yeah, and then like that's one thing that I didn't think it was gonna like like improve a lot.
Wow.
But also it helps a lot because it lets me like think better. That's one thing, right? So that's the first thing. I'll go to the gym in the morning. Usually it's like 6 or 7, depending.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I go back to the house, of course, take a shower, get everything ready. By then, I already have a lot of calls. I have a lot of texts, like from the team.
Yeah.
Emails, from the installers. And then from there, I already know if I have appointments. If I don't have any appointments, I just do like back office. If not, I'm in the hood. I'm training people. I'm always talking to the reps. I'm always talking to any rep, not just my team. But I try to help like the most people I can.
Yeah.
Like they don't have to be on my team. I'm always down to help, and like anyone.
Yeah.
And then
let me stop you there. Why do you feel such a need to help people that aren't even on your team?
Because when I started, like not a lot of people helped me. So that's one thing. Yeah, I know it's hard. Like knocking doors is not easy. I remember the first time I went knocking, it was hard because I never knocked doors for solar, of course. Like I was in business to business.
You're telling me when you were 5, you didn't want to grow up and be a door salesman?
No, of course. I never saw myself like that.
Yeah,
of course, but when I started, like I wanted someone to help me. I'm not saying no one helped me, of course. We have, but
Sure.
Haley and the team and Andy. But I know it's hard. So sometimes it's not good because we try to make it easier for new reps. And it ends up being even worse because once they're by themselves, it's not as easy as we
Sure.
probably told them it was,
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just feel like everyone deserves to like an opportunity and just like know what has helped me and maybe they can apply it,
Yeah.
That's one thing I do.
What I love about what you said though is that, you said, hey, not a lot of people maybe, or you didn't get the help. Maybe you want it when you first started, right? But you didn't let that turn into bitterness, or you didn't say, well, hey, because I didn't get it, like you go figure it out. You instead actually allowed, we can call that pain, right? You actually allowed it to be like, no, I'm actually going to turn this into something good. I'm going to actually make sure that other people don't have to walk what I went through, because I mean, you're a father, right? No father would think to themselves like, I hope my child goes through the same trauma and the same exact pain I went through. No. Now, do we want to instill principles in them? And do we understand that sometimes you have to go through hard things? Yes.
Yeah.
But, I never want my children to go through a very traumatic experience that I went through. So instead, I'm going to prepare them for it and say, hey, let me give you tools. Let me give you mindsets. Let me help guide you to ensure that you don't make the same mistakes I make. And it's cool to see that you're doing that same thing too. And, that also, there's also no surprise why you're seeing the results you're getting, because Jim Rohn, one of his most famous quotes is, if you, man, I'm totally forgetting this quote, but if you help enough people get what they want, eventually you get what you want, right? And so you're willing to help other people, even if there's no gain for you, other than a smile and a high five. But it's also no surprise as to why you're seeing results over here, because you're sowing into that. And, whether you realize it or not, like as I'm hearing that, I'm like, yeah, now it makes even more sense why you're seeing the results, because you have that servant mindset that like, hey, you know what, this rep's struggling. Let me take them in the doors. Let me help them. Or you know what, let me check up on them. Hey, how are you? How's you doing? How's your day? Like, oh, well, and then I'm sure you're having these conversations.
Yeah. I always try to like help them, like, hey, so what's your pitch? Like, what are you saying? And sometimes I tell them like, also like, sometimes it's not even the pitch, is because, I mean, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? So I tell them like it's because like your tone is not maybe like the correct one, but also like don't say this instead, of course,
Yeah.
And I mean, I always talk to like the most people that I can, even in correlations, like a Legends or like anywhere that I find reps, even like on the on the hood, right? So, yeah, basically that's.
Yeah. So I want to ask you to kind of go deeper on the practicals and, let's say I'm a struggling rep. All right. Let's say I come to you, I say, Rene, dude, you're getting 15, 20 sales a month, man. Like you make it look so easy, which I'm sure it's not, but you make it look so easy. Right. And let's say I really want to get there. Let's say I'm doing 3, 4 a month, right? But I want to get to that 8, 10 a month threshold? Like, what advice would you give me?
I will just like ask them about the product, so that just to tell, like if you believe in the product, because if you don't, like, if you don't believe it yourself, no one else is gonna believe you. First of all, so
Conviction.
yes. So and then another thing is you gotta be consistent. You have to be consistent. Like you cannot work maybe like 2 days and then take 3. I mean, you can. I mean, you don't have to work, right? But if you're not seeing results, most likely it's because you're missing something.
Right.
So one thing can be that you're not believing in the product, or another thing is that you're not believing in yourself. So maybe because if you see someone like walking towards your home, you can tell like their energy. If they seem happy, they seem, like tired or sad or angry, you know what energy they have. And if you don't like it, you're just not gonna even listen to them. But if you like them or you connect with them, like you're gonna listen to them, you're gonna give them the opportunity. I have many doors tell me like, actually, like a lot of people have come knock on my door. I'm like, I'm pretty sure, And then at the end, they went all the way to install. But I'm not saying that I'm doing anything magically. It's just that I just find a way, or I just connect with them. Like, I'm here to help you. Like, that's what I'm here for. I'm not here to like get you to buy anything else. I'm trying to help you like lower your bill, And then if it makes sense at the end, it's your choice. Like it's I don't make it like a big deal,
Yeah.
It's like, okay, and like if you qualify, like we can help you, and if not, like you're just gonna remain the same, and that's it. We'll be friends.
Yeah, I love it. It's such a simple answer, but it's so profound. And I love that you didn't say anything that, again, wasn't simple. It's everything you said simple. It's like, hey, believe in yourself, believe in the product. I mean, that's so true. Salesmanship is just conviction, right? That's all it is. Like, if you believe what you're selling, and there's a quote that goes, amateur salespeople try to convince others to believe what they believe, or professional people, they believe what they believe.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the ones that are struggling, they're trying to convince homeowners, solar's good. But deep down inside, either A, they don't understand it really as well as they think they do, or they don't have conviction to it, And so you're right. Like if there's conviction, hey, go learn the product more, go ask questions, right? And, really know that what you're doing is so good. Like when you're knocking doors, when I'm knocking doors, like, dude, I remember I always would picture like I have $100,000 in my pocket. And literally I'm like walking around like, who wants this? And if they reject me, I actually kind of feel sorry for them. Like they don't realize I was about to give them $100,000 over 25 years and they said no. And I actually feel bad for them. Yes. I'm like, they didn't reject me. They rejected $100,000. I'm like, hey, that's their fault. I'm gonna go on to the other guy until someone sees it. And so I love that you understand that.
Yeah, that's important, because not everyone believes that. And also like not a lot of like the new reps or any reps, and it doesn't have to be new. They don't have like a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
They don't have not even motivation, because I mean that's maybe like temporarily,
Sure.
I always try to, I mean, it's hard to say, right? Like it sounds so easy, but I always try to be like in a good mood, like be,
sure.
Now you're probably not happy, but be in a good mood, because you have to do the same things. Like even if you're happy, if you're not, like you have to do it. Like you have to.
What do you do when you're in a bad mood?
I still do it. I have to do it. Yeah.
I have to. Dude, I love that you're just dropping these like one-liners that I think they're so simple but profound. You're like, because I have to,
Yeah.
I have to. You're like, hey, cool. I don't feel well. Guess what? I have to. Hey, I'm scared. I have to. I feel this way, that I have to. It's really as simple as that. And I think oftentimes, even myself, I'm looking for, I have to feel a certain way. It's like, no, it doesn't matter how you feel. Just do it. I have to.
It's like when we are waiting. We're always waiting for something to be happy. We're always waiting for, once I have this much money, then I'll be feeling a certain way. And it's not even like that, because you're always chasing that, but you're already there. That's another distraction that a lot of like, not just reps, but everyone has,
right.
We're always waiting for something to happen so that we can take action.
Yeah.
Not everyone takes action, and then to enjoy something,
Yeah.
So
now talk us through this. Of course, the sale doesn't end in the close, right? Because especially solar sales, it's a relationship, right? It could take weeks, sometimes months to get all the way through. And so what are some things you're doing after the sale to really have, because you have great pull through, right? You don't have a high cancellation. And so clearly homeowners are really bought into you, but that's also by intention. So what are some things you're doing after you leave the door, after you leave the home, to ensure that this gets to install and PTO?
I always tell homeowners to, I always make sure like I'm doing the like a good job, right? Like I'm explaining, like the contract, explaining the cancellation policy, explaining everything that we have to explain, of course. And then, because I don't know if that's happened to you or maybe you heard, but there's sometimes we close an account and then there's another company calling them, like from leads. So one thing I do, I always tell them like, hey, if it's not me or like this number, and I save them. If it's BPS, I save their number. If it's not me or them, please do not answer because it's not us, and most likely you're gonna get screwed.
Okay, so let's stop there. So you're setting expectations.
Yeah.
Of, hey, I'm your guy. Yeah. I'm the guy.
Yes.
Okay, I'm the guy. Right? Not a guy. I'm the guy.
Yeah.
Don't talk to anyone else about solar about me. So you're setting those expectations. That way, in the event a company calls them a lead or a permanent poacher, which unfortunately happens in this industry, it upsets me so much. But you've already conditioned them to be like, oh, Rene prepared me for this. Mm-hmm. And so you're setting those expectations. I even love that you go one step deeper and you're like, hey, give me your phone. You put your number on there, your contact, and then you even put the installer's contact information. That way, because obviously if BPS tries to call them, you want them to pick up. Not be like, who's this number from Utah calling me, right? Yeah. I love that. These are little things that I think can have a big impact. What else are you doing?
I do that, and then depending, like if I see it's gonna be this is more technical, but if I see it's gonna need a main panel upgrade, it's like, okay, so it's gonna take, because now it's surprising, like we don't know if it's gonna get installed like 5 days, 10 days with BPS. So I tell them like, okay, look, like if I don't call you back like within like 2 weeks, it's because we're working on it. We're working on your project. We don't need anything else from you. Like everything is good. But if I call you or this number calls you, is because most likely we're gonna need something else. Yeah. Maybe like a change order or like another picture to bill or like another site survey. And I always try to be in touch. I know it's hard because we have a lot of customers. So in the mornings I try to send a text to them. Not every morning, of course, right? But like maybe like 5 days after site survey, like, hey, so we're working on your project. So like I'll be sending you updates. If it's not me, I'll have the rep be in contact with the homeowner. Why? Because that was the first point of contact since the beginning. So if they trusted them, they want to talk to them also, right? So I always have them like, hey, you know what? Like text your homeowner, just say hi to them, just let them know that we're working on the project. Or if he's ready for install, just tell her like to answer the phone, right? And another thing is that like I never ask them like, hey, if you want to cancel, like let's cancel, of course, because that's rude, right? But I always ask them, hey, do you have more questions? Like, please let me know so we can address it even before getting out of the house, because I wanted to make it as clear as possible. Maybe at the beginning it wasn't like that. Now it's getting more cancellations, but you learn this within time. Like you gotta be learning every day. We learn more every day. So yes,
dude, it's crazy. We've been here for about 40 minutes now, and it's just crazy, like the amount of wisdom and gold that we've been able to extract from you. And in kind of closing, if people wanted to connect with you more, learn more about you and your story, maybe they have further questions they can ask you, what's the best way that people can contact you?
They can call me. They can call me, email me, of course. But like I'm here in Correlations most of the time. If I'm not, maybe because
if people don't have your number, how do they get in contact with you?
Oh, okay. You want me to get to them?
If you want, yeah, it's up to you, man.
Yeah, my phone number is 619-882-0719. And feel free to text me, call me.
You're probably gonna get blown up a lot, dude.
I'm ready
podcast, changed my life.
I'm ready for it, but I'm willing to like help, whoever needs to. Whoever needs help. And I'm doing I do some trainings, with my team, in Spanish, like setting
and I think it's good for people watching this. If who's ever watching this is a Spanish speaker or they want to really master that, you're definitely one of the best. That is currently doing it, and it's really cool to see that. I do think the Spanish market is still very much a booming market. Solar as a whole it is, but I would say there's not that many really, really good and competent and honest and integrous Spanish speakers. So it's cool to see what you're doing, man.
Thanks.
But dude, thanks so much for hopping on.
Thank you.
This was such a great episode. And, you know, for those of us that are tuning in, thank you for hopping on to this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to have more.
That's right. Come on.
I'll be back.